Good morning, everyone. My name is Jesse Burke, and I'm the Chief of Special Operations with Red Sky Alliance. Today's threat brief contains information gathered from open source and WAPAC Labs collections over the last week. Next slide, please. For the agenda today, we're going to briefly discuss CVE 2020-0796, which is a remote code execution vulnerability in SMB version 3. We will then cover recent data breaches and cyber attacks in open sources and social media, and then go over 7 days of trending, including the latest APT activities, botnet activity, cloud security, blacklists, and keylogger activity. Next slide, please. First up is CVE 2020-0796 SMB v3 Remote Code Execution, or RCE, also known as SMB Ghost. Service Message Block, or SMB version 3, recently suffered from a major remote code execution, or again RCE. Eternal Blue was an equation group exploit leaked by the shadow brokers and has proved to be devastating in the past. And it utilizes, or rather exploits, a remote code execution exploit against SMB. SMB is utilized by printers, file systems, serial ports, and other discoverable service-based devices on a network. And due to its interconnectivity nature, a remote code execution against SMB could be very useful for a worm to abuse. And CVE 2020-0796 specifically impacts SMB 3.1.1 for Windows and can be used to attack clients or a server. To attack a server, attackers only need to send a specially created package to it, but to attack a client, the attacker must have configured a malicious SMB v3 server and persuade the victim to connect to it in a man-in-the-middle style attack. CVE 2020-0796 is a bug in Windows 10, 1903, and 1909's newest SMB3 compression capability. SMB protocol version 3.11 introduces the ability for a client or server to advertise compression abilities and to selectively compress SMB3 messages as beneficial. To accomplish this, when negotiating an SMB session, the client and server must both include a SMB2_compression_capabilities flag as documented in MS SMB 2.2.3.1.3 documentation. So once a session is negotiated with this capability, either the client or server can selectively compress certain SMB messages, and to do so, the entire SMB packet is compressed and transformed. And a transformed header is appended. And this header is a small 16-byte structure with magic value, the uncompressed data size, the compression algorithm used, and an offset value. And CVE 2020-0796 is caused by the lack of bounds checking in that offset size, which is directly passed to several subroutines. Passing a large value will cause a buffer overflow and crash the kernel. With the further work, this could be used to develop a remote code execution exploit. And Red Sky Alliance recommends filtering port 445 on clients and updating server software to the latest version to mitigate SMB Ghost. Next slide, please. Looking at gray noise activity levels this week, we see a little over 52,000 new malicious IPs detected in 7 days, and Mirai activity topping the list. However, in total, the reconnaissance and exploitation of SMB exploits exceeds the detected Mirai activity, and Eternal Blue, it looks like Eternal Blue and SMB scanning could also be considered part of SMB exploits. And since Mirai spreads using Telnet service, it's unclear if the reported Telnet activity represents Mirai activity or another malware variant. Ports 53, 443, 110, and 22 ICMP are likely representative of scanning reconnaissance against DNS, HTTPS, POP3, and SSH. Next slide, please. So for open source and social media, coronavirus has taken over the news and also our open source and social media reporting. Threat actors have been observed sending phishing emails, documents, SMS messages, and registering coronavirus-themed domains. Threat actors observed utilizing coronavirus-themed attack range from unsophisticated, using cracked versions of Azeralt, to Emotet, and more recently, we've actually seen APT29 Sandworm team also getting in on some of the coronavirus-themed phishing lures, if you will. And pictured is just a couple different examples. Next slide, please. Last week, we recorded approximately 900,000 of the indicators listed above, and these collections include our threat recon, keylogger, malicious email, and sinkhole traffic. The numbers on this slide show the indicators in their respective collections. Indicators are available to paid Red Sky Alliance members weekly, as well as our blacklist, which come in CSV, FortiSIM, and Proofpoint formats. Next slide, please. These are the APT and botnet indicators collected in the last 2 weeks. We had 270 unique APT indicators in the past 7 days alone, and this is up since last week's reporting of APT indicators. You can use your two-factor authentication to log into CTAC to download the APT indicators discussed today. Please contact us on Slack or via email for any assistance. On the right, you can see our top sinkhole statistics sorted by malware. Next slide, please. Topping the list for multiple weeks now is SickyPot. Mauti steps up to take second place from Weckby, and Weckby stepped down to third place. And we have PureP in fourth, with Carbonac following very closely behind in fifth. Next slide, please. And things have shaken up a bit this week regarding botnet activity. Spamhaus data shows that China Telecom, or ChinaNet, and Bharti Airtel have switched #1 and 2 spots this week, with China Telecom beating out Bharti Airtel. Increasing from 4th to 3rd this week is VNPT Corp, and National Internet Backbone of India is down from 3rd last week to 4th this week. 31 Jin Rong Street still remains absent from the list, and we continue to monitor that. Next slide, please. On the cloud security front this week, we are seeing botnet activities in the same cloud environments as usual, with a slight switch up. Amazon remains the highest this week, beating Peak 10 in second and Alibaba in third. ONR has escalated this week into a cautionary environment, and Shark Tech has de-escalated from high risk to caution risk. HE.com is our lower risk environment this week, and it's in place of ONR last week. Next slide, please. In our malicious email collection this week, we observed attackers targeting electricputer.ro and Kraber.de. Kraber seems to submit a lot of emails to VirusTotal and is therefore picked up often in our collections. All the malware is being detected as generic and therefore likely crypted or obfuscated and not an accurate description of the malware. Additional analysis would needed to be done on these specific pieces of malware to tell exactly what malware is being sent. Next slide, please. Updated blacklists are published weekly. On the right-hand side, you can see some of our keylogger stats. Last week, we observed 58,572 sinkhole connections from new unique IP addresses and 13 unique email accounts compromised with keyloggers. Please go to redskyalliance.org to inquire for additional support, complete blacklists, red X-ray, and API access. Next slide, please. Thank you all for joining us today. Please visit our Red Sky Alliance portal at redskyalliance.org for additional cyber intelligence reporting. If you have any questions regarding the topics briefed today, please get in touch with Jay McKee at wapaclabs.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you again next week.